What happened to Boxy Boo? Before Chapter 3 released, Mob Entertainment tried to make a new type of game, which they called Project Playtime. In the game, you'd be tasked with completing puzzles, taking toy parts, and then dipping out of there as fast as possible. However, alongside the release of the game, we were introduced to a new bigger body, Boxy Boo. And with his reveal, fans were thinking maybe one day he's gonna show up in the main game. However, when we make it to Safe Haven, we eventually find a drawing of Boxy Boo in a literal war. In the drawing, we see text like "we're losing" and 40 dead, meaning that whatever was happening here, toys were dying. And one of the toys crossed out is Boxy Boo. But what actually ended up happening to him? Well, let's start from the beginning. In Project Playtime, we hear two tapes. The first is where Sawyer talks about his new Bigger Bodies initiative. He says that he's gonna turn this company around, bring the profits up, all while taking people off their payroll.
I'm here now with a solution. The Bigger Bodies Initiative. Giant toys. We can increase our workforce and simultaneously decrease the number of lawsuits and people on our payroll if the people we have working aren't people.
And in the Chapter 4 ARG, we see the beginning stages of the Bigger Bodies initiative. In one of the notes, we hear of their first experiments, which was pretty much an absolute failure. The next note talks about an experiment that managed to be conscious for about 3 minutes, but still ended up dying. And many experiments later, with experiment 1160, Boxy Boo managed to survive his transplant and become the first success of the Bigger Bodies initiative, which is what leads to the next tape, because in it we hear Sawyer talking to Boxy Boo probably not long after he became conscious. He seems to be in awe of Boxy and says that he's the first of many.
And here you are. They said it was impossible, yet you defied all odds. The first of many, naturally. You have proven my Bigger Bodies initiative a success. Many doors have opened today, thanks to you.
However, as with all things, your first try is never the best. And this is exactly what happened to Boxy Boo. Although he was technically alive and they did just pull off a scientific miracle, to put it bluntly, he was pretty stupid, which sadly was the exact same fate of Pianosaurus. Sawyer viewed both as successes, but still not the results that he wanted. But also on the tape, Sawyer says that he's gonna get Boxy Boo used to eating flesh, most likely human flesh, because immediately after this, he asks for an update on Rowan's stole.
Now, we need to start taming that appetite of yours to flesh. Where to start? Get me an update on the situation with Rowan's stole.
And if you don't already know, Rowan was an employee who knew a little too much about Playtime's experiments, and the company wanted to get rid of him. And so, in the Project Playtime ARG, we see that Rowan was eventually eaten by Boxy Boo. But this wouldn't be the last time Boxy Boo ate an employee, as when the higher-ups at Playtime Co. were trying to figure out what to do with Sawyer, they eventually came up with the idea to take his organs and keep him locked in the factory where he won't be able to cause as much harm.
What do we do? There is one thing I can think of.
But when Harley was first waking up, Leith explains the situation to him, but Sawyer immediately said that they need his intellect, and without him, they're not gonna be able to do what he could do. But that's when Leith says this.
Nobody else can do what I do. You need my knowledge, my intellect.
Why do you think you're sitting in there right now and not in Boxy's stomach?
And in the tape where they come up with the idea of what to do with Sawyer, Eddie M. and Ritterman says that they should kill him. But by the way he says it, it makes it sound like they've done this a lot.
The guy's gotta go, Lath.
And how do you suggest we do that?
This wouldn't be the first time we made someone disappear.
We can't kill him, Eddie.
Why not?
Because like it or not, we need him.
And so if the employees have been using Boxy Boo as a human garbage disposal this entire time, then maybe he's not a failure after all. As when you use him in Project Playtime, he was able to kill employees, which was pretty much his only function. So although he wasn't necessarily the best result they could get, he still did have a function of being able to eat literally anything, which isn't really that new because Poppy Theory exists. I can do the exact same thing. And if you need some paper shredded, you got Boxy Boo. But if you need some human shredded, you still got Boxy Boo. And this is exactly what we see in the Hour of Joy. In the tape, we see all of the toys went rampant at the exact same time, killing literally everyone in sight, employees and visitors alike. However, with Boxy Boo not being intelligent, why did he wait until the Hour of Joy to start killing people rather than just immediately going crazy? Well, we have to remember the fact that the prototype is the one who orchestrated the Hour of Joy, and by the way that Catnap speaks in one of the tapes, it seems that things were planning to start for a very long time.
But look at you now. The kids love you. And that red smoke. I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it? Is his, voice thingy still broken?
And so with the prototype planning literally everything while also having some kind of control over the factory, he could have released Boxy Boo from his containment at the right time, which led to him eating literally everything in sight. So we know that he survived the Hour of Joy, but if we don't see him at all now, and we even see that he's crossed out in the war painting, what could have happened to him? Well, let's take a deeper look at the war painting. In it, we see that there definitely was some sort of battle, which might have been a one-day thing or could have even lasted many months. And we see that the good toys are on the left, as all of them are outlined in blue, and we even see a drawing of Kissy Missy. And all of the evil toys were on the right, being outlined in red and also including Boxy Boo and Pianosaurus. But there is one detail in this painting that shows us where this battle could have taken place. In the middle, we see a giant crane being climbed by one of the toys. And unless this is some kind of reenactment of King Kong, we can assume that the battle was in the exact same place that we killed Doey. As sometime in the middle of the boss fight, he goes into another damage phase where he'll climb onto the crane and start projecting some sort of acid dough. And what's even crazier about this is that this giant room seems to be how you get to the labs, which would make a lot of sense in terms of why they would be fighting for control over this territory. But if you think about it, Boxy Boo would literally go ape mode in this kind of environment. I couldn't imagine anyone taking Boxy Boo in a fight and living at the same time, except for one person who we know can absolutely body any toy, me. And that, my friend, is Doey the Dough Man. Because when we see Pianosaurus, Doey literally turns this man into sushi. And so if Doey was part of the battle in the construction site, he could have been taking on Boxy Boo while the smaller toys would be fighting each other. And with how quickly this man killed Pianosaurus, it was probably a little bit harder, but still Doey probably killed him in under a minute. And so with Boxy Boo dead, it seems that the good guys would be gaining an advantage. But that's until you see the left side of the painting, which says 40 dead. And now with literally every toy in Safe Haven being dead, the bad guys are definitely winning. And so the prototype most likely released Boxy Boo into battle, but Doey ended up getting the better of him. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.